How could a handful of foreigners overthrow an empire that ruled millions? Did the Spanish really defeat the Aztecs with their weapons, or was their most formidable ally already waiting for them across the ocean? The story of the fall of Tenochtitlan is not just a tale of battles. It is a story of betrayals, disease, political alliances, and a victory that, rather than destroying the enemy, gives them the chance to return even stronger. Today we will follow how one of the most powerful civilizations in the Americas faces a storm that forever changes the fate of the New World. In the heart of the Valley of Mexico rises Tenochtitlan, a city on the water, filled with majestic temples, canals, and markets. It is the capital of the Aztec Empire, which seemed invincible. But as the Spanish cross the Atlantic, a storm is already approaching this world, bringing not only steel and gunpowder, but also disease, alliances, and a desire for revenge. It all begins with a rather unlikely scenario. A small group of foreigners invades an empire that rules over millions of people. They are soon driven out from its very heart, and the Aztecs win a victory that should save them. Instead, it gives the enemy time to return with more men, more allies, and much greater ambitions. The Aztec state was not a unified kingdom. Its foundation was the triple alliance between Tenochtitlan, Texcoco, and Tlacopan. After defeating their old enemy, the three cities gradually expanded their influence through wars, taxes, and ruthless politics. Over time, however, the balance disappeared. Tenochtitlan became the true master of the empire. From the capital, orders, armies, and tax collectors began to emerge. Huge quantities of food, cocoa, fabrics, feathers, gold, and valuable gifts flowed into the city. Along with the wealth grew the hatred of the conquered peoples, who waited for the right moment to take revenge. The Spanish quickly realized this. Their most important ally was not their own soldiers, but the people of Tlaxcala, a sworn enemy of the Aztecs. For them, Hernán Cortés was not a savior, but a weapon that fate sent at the most opportune moment. The Tlaxcalans provided the Spaniards with everything they lacked: numerous warriors, local guides, food, translators, and excellent knowledge of the terrain. Without this support, Cortés' campaign would likely have ended long before reaching the walls of Tenochtitlan. The empire was led by Montezuma II. Later legends would portray him as a ruler who believed the Spanish to be the returned god Quetzalcoatl. Today, most historians believe this story to be greatly exaggerated. The truth is far more complex. Montezuma was an experienced statesman and military leader. Rather than leave the foreigners free to stir up the discontented provinces, he decided to draw them to the capital, where he could constantly monitor them. It is a bold political play. The ruler allows the predator into his own court, convinced that he still holds the key to the cage. For the Spaniards, Tenochtitlan is a real revelation. When they saw the huge city in the middle of the lake, Cortés veterans were speechless. Bernal Díaz del Castillo would later write that the sight resembled a fairy tale vision. Cortés himself reported to Emperor Charles V that the city could be compared in size to Seville or Córdoba, and its order and organization amazed Europeans. On November 8, 1519, the Spanish entered the capital. About 400 exhausted soldiers and a small group of horsemen crossed the causeway into the city. As thousands of locals watch from their canoes, two completely different civilizations come face to face. However, hospitality soon turns into captivity. Realizing how precarious their situation was, the Spanish took the unthinkable step of capturing Montezuma himself in his palace. Through him, Cortés controlled power and demanded more and more gold. As tensions among the population continue to rise, Cortés is forced to temporarily leave the city to face a Spanish army sent to arrest him. In Tenochtitlan, his deputy Pedro de Alvarado remained. In the spring of 1520, the Aztecs celebrated the sacred festival of Toxcatl. Hundreds of nobles, warriors, and priests gather in the courtyard of the great temple. They wear rich robes, quetzal feathers, and expensive jewelry, while music and ritual dances fill the sacred square. However, the Spanish began to suspect a conspiracy. On May 20th, Alvarado ordered an attack. First the drummer was killed, then the exits were closed. The Spaniards pounced on the unarmed participants in the celebration. The courtyard of the Great Temple became a bloody slaughterhouse. The survivors desperately tried to escape, and dozens of nobles died. The consequences were immediate. When Cortés returned in June with reinforcements, Tenochtitlan was no longer a city that welcomed him as a guest. It had become a huge trap. The Spanish were besieged, cut off from supplies, and with little access to food and water. In a desperate attempt, they released Cuitlahuac, Montezuma's brother, in the hope of pacifying the people. Instead, he immediately took the lead in the uprising. In late June, Cortés made a final attempt to restore order. Montezuma was brought before the people to call on the warriors to lay down their arms. But his power was now irretrievably lost. Spanish chronicles claim that he was killed by a stone thrown by his own subjects. Local traditions blame the Spaniards themselves. Whatever the truth, the ruler's fate is already decided. The new leader is Cuitlahuac, a respected warlord who prefers open battle to any negotiation. There is no time for solemn ceremonies. He takes power in a city that is already burning and prepares for his last battle. Thousands of warriors gather around him, determined to turn the lake into a tomb. For Cortés, remaining in Tenochtitlan meant certain doom. The only chance was a secret night retreat along the western causeway to Tlacopan. But the Aztecs had already destroyed the bridges on the causeways. To cross, the Spanish fashioned a heavy portable wooden bridge from the beams of the palace, which had to be moved under fire. On the night of July 1st, 1520, about 1,300 Spaniards and thousands of their allies left the palace. Before leaving, Cortés allowed the soldiers to take gold. Many stuffed their pockets in armor, unaware that the wealth would soon become the heaviest burden of their lives. The escape, however, did not go unnoticed. According to the chronicles, a woman by the lake was the first to see the column and raise the alarm. Shortly afterwards, a war shell echoed over Tenochtitlan. The sound spreads over the water and awakens the entire city. The Spaniards no longer flee unnoticed. Against them rises an angry empire. The trap closes with terrifying precision. Thousands of warriors storm the narrow embankment, and the lake comes alive with hundreds of canoes. Arrows, stones, and javelins pour out of the water. The Spanish vanguard crosses the first breach. But under the weight of men, horses, and baggage, the structure became stuck in the collapsed dike and could no longer be moved. The subsequent breaches became deadly obstacles. Greed also takes its toll. A huge part of the treasure sinks to the bottom, dragging the people with it. The Spanish lose their artillery and almost all their horses. The black waters swallow up much of the retreating army. For the survivors, this is not just a defeat. It is a night in which the lake, the darkness, and the entire city seem to turn against them. Few reached land at Tacuba. Spanish memory will remember this night as the night of sorrow, not only because of Cortés' tears, but because of the collapse of his entire army. For the Mexica, it is the night of victory, when the city and the lake break the invaders. The survivors drag themselves along the shores, trying to reach the lands of Tlaxcala. On July 7, 1520, the plains of Otumba were black with warriors. A vast Aztec army blocked their path. Exhausted and without artillery, Cortés' men were on the verge of annihilation. But the Mexica way of waging war gave the Spanish several decisive moments. For them, capturing an enemy is often more valuable than killing him outright. Cortés throws his horsemen in a desperate charge. Matlatzin Catzin is killed, and the Aztec army begins to retreat. In Tenochtitlan, Cuitlahuac realized that the Spanish might return. He launched a diplomatic offensive, bringing promises and an appeal for old feuds to be forgotten. His boldest move was to appeal to the country of the Purifics, but the memory of the old wars proved stronger than fear. In Tlaxcala, the elders also remained loyal to Cortés. This decision determines the fate of the capital. While Cuitlahuac tries to build a new alliance, an invisible enemy is already spreading through his lands: smallpox. The disease is spreading from the coast to the interior, striking a population that has never encountered this virus before. In crowded Tenochtitlan, the markets and canals made every touch dangerous. The contagion spread with devastating speed, while many foreigners remained unaffected. This not only destroys bodies, but also shakes their idea of the order of the world. Nahuatl texts call it the Great Rash. Bodies become covered in painful sores. Even the slightest movement turns into suffering. Mortality is catastrophic. Many die not only from the virus, but also from hunger, because there is no one to prepare food. Cuitlahuac also fell victim to the disease. The ruler who had driven out Cortez died in early December 1520. His reign lasted only 80 days. This was not just a disease, but a blow to the very heart of the elite. After his death, Cuauhtémoc, a young warlord of about 25, was elected as the last independent ruler. His marriage to Montezuma's daughter strengthens his power, but the city he inherits is torn apart by war, famine, and epidemic. Cuauhtémoc begins a war until his last breath. But Cuitlahuac's brief reign gave Cortez his most valuable weapon, time. While the empire burned in a fever, the Spanish rebuilt themselves in Tlaxcala and built warships. Gradually, Tenochtitlan was completely isolated. On August 13, 1521, after a siege of 93 days, the city fell. Cuauhtémoc was captured. Despite his short stay, Cuitlahuac remains a symbol of resistance. While Montezuma is remembered with the bitterness of defeat, Cuitlahuac remains the ruler under whom the Spanish suffered their worst defeat. Today, streets, boulevards, and even an asteroid bear his name. He manages, in just 80 days, to reverse the course of the conquest before being defeated by an invisible virus. Sometimes history changes direction, not in the moment of defeat, but in the moment of victory. Tenochtitlan drives out the invaders, but victory does not close the door. She leaves it ajar long enough for famine and disease to return. This is the tragedy of the Aztec world. It falls not because it is weak, but because its power has created too many enemies. The most dangerous victory is the one that makes you believe you are already saved, because sometimes fate waits in the silence after the battle, when the victors have already put down their shields. Thank you to everyone who stayed with me until the very end. Write in the comments whether you think Cuitlahuac could have saved Tenochtitlan. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it. Until the next story.